so we can have the Congress we want. You might wonder why Congress is so strongly Republican, even though the U.S. as a whole is not. Most of us don't like the way the U.S. is spending its money. Yet we can't have our priorities. Our priorities aren't even on the table. Why is this? Money in politics is part of the answer, but another large part is the way our electoral system works. Here is the town of Fairview that will be holding an election. It has been cut up into 4 districts. Each district has 12 to 13 purple and 12 to 13 orange dots for a total of 25 dots per district. Each dot represents a certain number of people. You can see the districts are evenly split. The purple people won the last election, so they get to draw new districts. They will draw them so they have the advantage. You might think they would draw this kind of district, looking like a salamander. Well, maybe. If they had a really important official, that would make sure he got elected forever. But most of the time, they don't want to make sure of just one official. They want to elect masses of them. There's a different technique for that. Here's what they will do. They will concentrate the oranges into one district. They will lose that district. That district will be sacrificed. But now there are fewer oranges in the other 3 districts. In fact, there are exactly 25 oranges left to be split among 3 other districts, 8 or 9 per district. But all 50 of the purples are in those districts, so 16 or 17 purples per district. And the final count is 1 orange district, 3 purple. Any vote that goes by district will be decided in favor of the purples from now on. Oranges will send 1 representative to the assembly, purples 3. Purples have the oranges in a headlock. This happened in spite of the fact that the 2 parties were of equal strength. Now look what happens when the purples start defecting to the orange side. Holy moly, it's a landslide. Look at how many more oranges there are. But, oh yes, the districts. There are still 3 purples and only 1 orange. When the districts looked like this, candidates struggled to get votes here. Just a few votes made a big difference, so they worked hard for those votes. Now there's no need for any of that. We already know how Fairview will be voting. In fact, no candidate for general election, at least, will ever set foot in Fairview again. Of course, there's still some action in the primaries. People on the right struggle to see who can be the most extreme. That's how we got those congressmen who wanted to shut the government down rather than let Obamacare go forward. So that is malicious manipulation of voting districts done on purpose. But there is a natural gerrymandering that happens of its own accord. You may have noticed how easy it was to draw that line around the oranges. That's because our political philosophies correspond to the ways we live. People who believe in cooperation tend to live closely with other people in concentrated districts, whereas people who believe in independence, in self-reliance, will live in a more isolated situation. The cooperators dominate their areas with concentrations of 100% or close, while the isolators dominate more efficiently by 51% or so. A grid of red versus blue districts will often show blue districts in the crowded center and red districts further out. You can see it in this district of Spokane County, in the state of Ohio, and in the whole nation. The crowded blue districts will have a higher concentration of blues, whereas the red districts will be red by a smaller majority. Metropolitan areas gerrymander themselves to give red voters the advantage. They get more districts, and Congress represents the districts, not the individuals. There's money in the system too, of course. Money buys a lot of ads, but in spite of all the ads, American values are still more left than right. We don't like the policies we have, and without gerrymandering, we wouldn't have them. You'll be wondering how to resist gerrymandering. How can districts be drawn to eliminate the advantage one side has? The practical remedy has been for the other side to win an election and then get to draw the districts to their own advantage. Now, if you draw districts in a strictly neutral manner, you'll give the advantage to the isolators, the Republicans. If you drew districts so that the vote by district equaled the popular vote, that might be fair. but we would have to engineer it street by street. Here are some highly engineered districts created in the interests of fairness. Their purpose is to give a voice to African Americans and Hispanics. These are legal. But no one wants to create a district to encourage a minority political opinion. Those opinions will remain unrepresented. And the ultimate question is, do you really want your elections to hinge on how a district is engineered? Because it seems like you can engineer it to give you whatever result you want, as long as it's either Democratic or Republican. Even if you like the results, engineering the district seems like a poor substitute for actual democracy. Why do we vote by geographic district anyway? It used to make sense back when our country got started. Your district was where you worked and lived and shopped, and it was where you knew people. No longer. Now you shop all over the region, and your church group is all over the region, and your hobby group, and your work group. You might not know your next door neighbors at all. Here's one system that doesn't use districts. Everyone picks the party with the policies they like. Here someone picked Democratic. The votes are tallied to see what proportion of total city council members goes to each party. Here it's 5 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and a Libertarian. Then the parties look at their list of candidates. They can go down the list and check off as many candidates as they got percentage points. The Republicans got 40%, so they can check off 4 candidates. Here in America, the candidate might mean more than the party. You might want to say, let me rank those candidates within the party. This is also possible. Or you can vote by district for half the representatives. Just make the districts bigger so there are fewer of them, and use the candidate list to make up for groups that got the votes, but not the districts. U.S. citizens have felt unrepresented for years. That's why so few people vote, far fewer than in any other modern nation. And they are right. Their congressional representatives do represent only a minority of the people. That was always so just because of the distribution of population. Lately, it's also by design. Now the misrepresentation is weighing heavily on us. Policies most of us loathe are looming before us. Cuts to Social Security, anyone? While policies favored by huge majorities have no chance of being enacted. Does anyone see punishment for bank criminals on the horizon? Does anyone see gun control coming any day soon? Our problems are not trivial problems to be fixed by putting a different party in place. We would have to use the electoral system to do that, and the system's broken. To work for a new system, contact Washington Citizens for Proportional Representation or your local Green Party. Also, you can forward this video to any organization you know that has an interest in keeping democracy alive. And here's a little story to finish off. In 2012, Pennsylvania gave its electoral college votes to the candidate who won the popular vote. Most of the states do that. But as of 2013, those electors will be selected by a new method. They will be allocated according to the congressional districts. Whereas the popular vote had been Democratic, the districts are gerrymandered to be heavily Republican. If that method had been in place in 2012, this man would have been elected president rather than this one. It is in place now and will be operating in 2016. We all believe that whoever has the most votes wins, but it's not true, not for Congress. And the rot and corruption of congressional gerrymandering is spreading now to presidential elections. Let's stop it now before all semblance of democracy has left our country.